and welcome to an introduction to iron condors and iron butterflies. So before we get down to business on that, let's talk about my favorite subject, which is me. Who is Mark Sebastian? Not just a father of 1.5 and husband and trader, but also educator. I was a floor trader for almost a decade, then left the floor and started Option Pit. Option Pit is a education and consulting firm. So our consulting arm works with hedge funds, asset managers, traders, professional traders, market makers, you name it. Kind of helping them strategy test, do strategy implementation, and stress testing. So we've worked with hedge funds with as much as $15 billion under management. We've actually done outsourced trading for some of these firms north of $1 billion. And then on the retail side, our retail education arm, which is what I'm here for, we work with individual traders, teaching them a professional approach to trading. You know, how do professional traders think, work, act, and manage risk? I like to joke that we've had clients with $15 billion and $1,500, and the one with $1,500 usually knows more about options. Additionally, we run me and Andrew and a couple of my other partners run a small hedge fund called Carmen Line Capital that is in volatility arbitrage. So we're out and about and active here at Option Pit. So that is me, and that is what we do. So today we're going to talk about what is an iron butterfly and condor. We're going to put the positions in focus. We're going to talk a little bit about the conditions that make them fly, the conditions that make them crash, the things that will break their wings, and ways to repair it. You know, are there ways to repair a bad trade? All right, so let's start with the concept of decay. As I've discussed, if you've seen any of my webinars, all right, the things I talk about are decay a lot. And I like to break this whole decay is always exponential. It's not. All right, at the money has an exponential decay. All right, out of the money options are linear. And then far out of the money options, all right, the ultra cheap ones can take forever. All right, decay has this kind of path where at a certain level, it goes from decaying fast to decaying at a regular pace to not decaying quickly at all or even not decaying. All right, there is a period of time where options kind of stop, and that's when they get to be worth less than a nickel. I can show you guys about 200 examples, 200,000 examples, where letting an option worth less than a nickel rather than closing it and rolling the position back actually costs the trader money. And that's an important thing to be aware of. And here's kind of a chart of it. All right, you can see that exponential decay. All right. Yeah, sorry. I'm glad you liked. I'm glad you liked the birds chirping, as opposed to not liking them chirping. You've got kind of this in the money. Yeah, and then you've got the out of the money. And what I want you to notice is that out of the money options, they do have this kind of, you see the flattening of the decay curve? That's really important. All right, so let's talk about condors and flies. When properly set up, butterflies and condors can take great advantage of decay. All right, the key is proper setup of the trade, and that is something that traders screw up all the time. This concept that you don't have to be aware of the volatility around you, all right, and you don't have to be aware of market conditions is ludicrous. The concept that you don't have to have good conditions, good setup, good management, all right? There was a story that came out this week that I think really proves the point of what we stick to here at Option Pit. There was a trader that had been somewhat pushed by a few educators and famous people out there, and her whole thing was, hey, I can just sell all the time and I'll make money. Well, lo and behold, it turned out that her fund was engaged in financial fraud. And the reason being is because when a story sounds too good to be true, and when a story sounds, and when someone explains that it's easy to make money, I can promise you they are lying. All right? Anybody who says trading is easy and it is easy to make money is a liar. You can Google it. So then let's talk about the setup. So an iron butterfly is in many ways just a hedged short straddle. That's it. It involves the selling of an at-the-money call spread and an at-the-money put spread. You can also consider it a selling of an at-the-money straddle versus an out-of-the-money strangle. However you want to think about it. It's two ways to skin the same cat. All right. And the net creates a tightly defined high-yield area for the spread to profit. And so this is what an iron butterfly looks like. Very simple. You can see it's got a nice little cone where it can make a lot of money. It's got an area where it breaks even. You can see where the break even. And it's got a capped max loss. Now, if I remove this capped max loss, it would just look like a straddle. All right, so let's talk about how do you set up a proper iron butterfly. There's no secret sauce. I mean, there is, all right? But generally speaking, set up an at-the-money fly with wings set around 1 standard deviation out of the money. So think about a 15 to 20 delta on the call and put. All right? You set up inside of 30 days. You can use the weeklies. And it should be closed a minimum of 3 days to expiration, but probably you're looking to close more like a week to 2 weeks ahead of expiration. And the key is it takes advantage of the differing decay speeds. Remember, we talked about how at the money has an exponential decay inside of 30 days, and out of the money is more linear. So let's walk through the setup. This is live vol X. We can use, you want to use S&P 500 or Russell or NASDAQ. All right. So let me set the trade up. So we'll go inside of 30 days. All right. Now we've got the Brexit vote on the 23rd. So let's say we set our vote up, or our trade up, for June 22nd. Now, I might argue the vol's too low for a butterfly. All right, I would be correct. All right, but just for the sake of the argument, let's walk through the trade. We go to the June 22nd contract. We start at the money. Right at the money is 2105. All right. And I mean, I can sit here and calculate a standard deviation for you guys. Real simple. We've got 20 days. So I'm going to use the 365 calc just to make my life easier. I could also count calendar days. So if you're going to use calendar days, you use 365 as a divisor. If you're going to use trading days, you use 252. So we'd go 1, 5, or we'd go 6, 11, 16. So 16 divided by 252 equals 0.063. We take the square root of that. We then multiply it times this volatility here, 1063. Now, remember, 1063 is actually 0.1063 because volatility is what? What is volatility, folks? And then I take that and multiply times 2105. So they're saying my wings are going to be about $55 wide. Right? What is volatility? All right. So I'm going to pull this up on the wrist chart. I want you guys to see, to start, this is in fact a straddle. All right, now I'm going to add the wings. If I go 55 days out, 55 bones out, I'm at the 2160s. Now, here's a problem with the 2160s. When I'm setting up a hedge in the S&P 500, my wings should always be worth at least $2.50, preferably $3. So I'm going to buy the 2150. So my trade's only going to be 45 points wide. Tells me skew is steep as well, because my 2160s are a 23 delta, and my 2150s are an 8 delta. So skew is steep. So now let's look at my risk chart. You can see I've changed my trade. But one of my problems here is what? Well, look at my delta. When I'm setting up an at-the-money fly, do you think I want a huge short? Do you think I want a delta that's short 86 to the S&P 500? By the way, volatility is a percent. Thank you, nobody, for answering. 200 people here. Answer the question. So I got a 86. I'm short. No, I don't want that kind. So what am I going to do? I'm going to buy. I'm going to cut that delta down. It's balanced. All right, it's not unbalanced, but it's got too much delta. So what am I going to do? I'm going to cut the delta by about half to a third. Yeah, I want to cut the delta by about half to a third. So I'm going to buy these 21 quarters. I'm going to buy like 2 of them. And now look. Now I don't have such a delta. All right? And now I've set up my butterfly. We are all set. When I buy my calls, I want them inside of the tent. All right, so let's talk about some things to look for. All right, the long out of the money put will typically have a higher delta. That's caused by skew. Now, if I sit down and I look at kurtosis, I look at skew all the time, and I've got a good idea of when skew's expensive and steep. You don't. But here's what I can tell you, is that if the butterfly produces an unusually short delta, if the butterfly produces unusually short delta, guess what? It's probably not favorable. It means you're paying too much for the put. All right, that's important. Now, the shorts are closer to the money. That's going to produce that long theta. The spread wants the underlying to sit. Butterflies are very short gamma, and the spread is also wants implied volatility to fall, which means it is short vega. So you want the underlying to sit. You have sensitivity to volatility. All right, we're going to get back to these. Don't worry. I'm just kind of setting the table here. Now, what is an iron condor? It's just a strangle attached. It involves the selling of an out-of-the-money call spread and out-of-the-money put spread. And it creates a large landing pad of safety. There's your iron condor. Different kind of yield. All right. So one of the things we talked about is that linear decay. Options that are out of the money decay linearly. Thus, options that are 10% out of the money lose more dollars from day 60 to day 30 than they do from day 30 to expiration. So when you're building a butterfly, an iron condor, you want to set it up beyond 60 days to expiration, preferably like 65. And you want it set up between the 10 and 15 delta. Nice and out of the money. Spend a little time, all right, looking at, whether there's some mispricing somewhere. Play around with the strikes to see if you can pull any extra dollars out of it. That can happen. In a name like the S&P, you'd be surprised. If you fiddle around with a 10-point wide condor, setting it up, you may be able to squeeze an extra nickel without changing your delta or your strikes more than $5 or $10, especially in puts. This is a great question. Mark, for an iron condor, would you get out of the position by 30 days to expiration? Absolutely. I'm looking to get out 35 days to expiration. I'm only looking to collect about 40 to 50% of the premium I took in. All right? So spend a little time looking at strikes. Now, open interest, one thing people say is, oh, look at the open interest, open interest, open interest. Open interest doesn't matter. It really doesn't. All right? One thing I would say is we've looked and tranching works better than just doing it all at once. So weeklies are now thick enough where if you do your position kind of every week and you're rolling pieces of it back and you've got a good risk management plan, you can do way better. All right, so a short iron. I'll put one together before we get down to down to business. So we'll look at SPX again. I'm going to clear my simulating. All right, so now, here we are June 2nd. So we're talking August. You know, this is a good question. Can't use OI as a means of judging liquidity. So you trade equity options, you may be able to choose strikes that have more open interest to have less slippage. You know, honestly, open interest in the contract month, I think matters. But so if there's not a lot of open interest in the contract month, that means there might not be a lot of people quoting it. But from strike to strike, it does not matter. All right, it legitimately does. Nobody cares. Not on your 10, 20, 30 lot. If I was trading 1,500 of them or 15,000 of them, yes. But unless you are trading more than 250 of these, it does not matter. Especially in equities. Indexes, I would still say no. Equities, where everybody is running an electronic eye to look at these things, it does not matter. I've never heard of an electronic eye that cared about open interest. Another good question, though. So let's look here. We're going to look at, I'm going to set my iron butterfly. I'm going to buy, I think, the 1900s. All right, so what I'm going to do is, let me open up the vol here a little bit. And take a look at the vol, and you tell me whether you can find some areas where maybe things are a little off. This is only $5 wide. 2040, 2010, 1970, 1940, 1910, 1880. So look here. Look at the 19 quarters relative to the 1920s and the 1950s. I know this doesn't seem like an important thing, but it is. It's a very nuanced thing, but this is a very important nuance. All right, I want you to notice, we're going to take a look at something. All right. So, it's the 1920. All right. So, the 1925-30 produces 55 cents. The 1925-20 produces 50. The 1930-1920 produces $1.05. Does something not add up here? So do I want to do the 19 quarter, 1920, 1930, 19 quarter, or the 1930, 1920 put spread? What do you guys think? All right. All right, so let's take a look. The 1930, 19 quarter produces 55 cents at my midpoint. Yeah. So if I sell 20 of those, I get $1.10. If I sell 20 of the 19 quarter 1920s, I collect $1. And if I sell 10 of the 1930 1920s, I collect $1.05. if I'm going for my mid price. Plenty of size on both ends. So my question to you then is, why wouldn't you do the 19, 30, 19 quarter 20 times? And if your answer is, I have to pay extra commissions, you're getting robbed on your commission. All right? My commission on that spread will amount to about a penny. So I'm netting in and out 3 cents. And you're saying, Mark, who cares about 3 cents? All right, well, think about this. I netted an extra 3 cents on the spread. It's going to cost me, let's just say I did 20 on the calls as well. All right? I'm netting an extra penny a spread. All right? That means I'm essentially trading for free. And really, if you count the fact that I was going to have to do 10 on the other one, I'm really netting an extra like 2.5 cents. If I do every spread if I do every trade for an extra 2 cents in it, all right, that will be the difference between being very profitable and not being very profitable. If you make 2 cents on every trade, you can be a trader in Edge. My last year in market making, you know how much I wanted to make off of every trade that I made? Now, granted, I did thousands. You know how much I wanted to make? A penny. My goal was to make a penny. All right? So my goal is to make a penny on every trade, and my goal is to trade 5,000 contracts a day. That's $1 a contract. 5,000 bucks a day, $1.25 million. I did not achieve that goal very often. So the point is, I mean, I don't need to do the call side, do I? I think everybody gets it. I wanted to spend a little time on the nuance of setting up the trade. All right, now, again, it's still going to have a short delta, and that's caused by this skew. All right, now, shorts are close to the money. It is long theta, not as much, but it is. And the spread wants the underline to stay in a tight range and not move. Short gamma, and its selling premium is short vega. Very similar characteristics, but it's not the same. Now, I want you to notice they both have very similar characteristics, but their keys to success are different. They're all short delta, short gamma, short vega, and long theta. Now let's focus on the differences between the two. They are not the same trade. And the key is that changing Greeks with respect to the model inputs. So here is that butterfly. And I want you to notice something. There's a butterfly we set up in Apple post-split. And, wow. This is from like almost a year ago. And so this is a little September butterfly that maybe it's set up. This is August. We did this. All right, so August butterfly and apple. Now here's an August or September iron condor and apple. 1, 2. And what I want you to notice, look at the Vegas. Vega is very similar. 36, 35. Delta, a little less delta in the Condor. Gamma, similar. Theta, not that different. So, to quote Jerry Seinfeld, what's the deal? I think that's funny. Most people don't. Anyway, so the iron butterfly and the iron condor will perform well when IV is falling. I think those are falling knives. Falling dollars of knives. So, people like to think that they can cherry pick vol. And here's what I'll tell you. And it's really the same for any product. You know, my neighbor that we were just talking about, he was a grain guy for years. And he'd tell you he'd rather buy $5.50 corn coming from 5 than $5 corn coming from 5.5. All right. With vol, same thing. I'd rather sell a 25 VIX coming from 30 than sell a 30 VIX coming from 25. And these spreads are the same. I love selling, it should be called roundine, yes. So, let's talk about the dominant position and the dominant thing. Theta is just something that happens every day. But volatility and skew do not. Volatility and skew can move quickly. Do we all know what skew is? Skew is the cost of out-of-the-money puts relative to out-of-the-money calls. When skew is steep, that means puts are expensive or calls are cheap. That relationship can move quickly, and volatility can move quickly. So, what I want you to notice is the volatility here. So take a look here. Here we are. A few days later, time has passed. All right. But what I want you to notice, take a look at how this thing can change with vol up and down 10%. So which one's actually a lot more Vega sensitive? The butterfly or the iron condor? All right. Notice the difference between the gammas and the Vegas. On the move. I'm sorry, this is movement. We're going to get to the other one. All right. The fly is the more aggressive trade. So when you're trading, you want HV to be falling as well as IV. Yeah. All right? Part of the reason that we don't sell high IV is that HV tends to come along with it. So when vol is insane, when it's super high, you think vol is just insanely high and it has to come in, what should you trade? Butterfly, I'm saying no, you should dump VIX futures or VIX or buy VIX puts or sell VIX call spreads. All right? You have to be, for a butterfly to be really good, all right? For a butterfly to be really good, you have to be looking for movement to stop. For a condor to be good, you want movement to slow down and Vega to come in. All right? Part of the reason why we don't sell out high IV is because HV can be so high. You're looking for movement to stop. All right, it's one thing if you guys are dynamic hedgers. Most of you are not. Take a look at this. Oh, look at this high IV. I should sell it. Oh, wait, look at how much movement you're getting. You see the problem? You don't do butterflies when things are moving around a lot. It's a loser. So here's would be my primary comment. It is very bad for delta to become a risk factor in an iron butterfly. All right, as IV increases, and this is another problem. You put on a fly and look at all that decay I'm creating. Well, when implied vol increases, it's kind of like making time stop. All right, there was an old NXS song called "Make Time Stop" that I think about. All right. So when IV explodes, increasing vol stops theta. Correct. All right. So when IV explodes, Vega can become a problem as the fly will not collect any theta, and you still have to deal with the gamma and the delta. All right. The big decision is a trade-off in duration. All right. I like iron butterflies for a shorter duration trade that concentrate on IV erosion and time erosion. Iron condor trades are for longer duration. All right, when vol is higher, and you think, oh, this could beget some movement, that's when you maybe think about an iron condor. I'll tell you, I trade in a given year, I will trade in our strategy letter maybe 20 iron condors all year, and we'll trade 200 butterflies. Far more manageable, way better for the weeklies. All right, so now let's just talk about some basics in adjusting. For butterflies, to start, all right, I'll tell you, especially with butterflies, I have seen more people lose more money adjusting butterflies by adding butterflies to a trade than just about any other way people lose money. Right? The idea that you should manage risk by adding more risk is ludicrous. So if you know someone and they say, oh, to fix that butterfly, add another butterfly, all you're doing is doing what we call throwing margin at the trade. All right. So when we trade butterflies, we either remove pieces of the wing or we buy calls and puts inside. Now for weeklies, we tend to take off pieces of the troubled side or close the troubled side along, we'll do some call buying around it. Typically not within the weekly though. So if I've got a little weekly fly and I do want to manage the delta with options, I'll go out and buy a monthly call against it. Take a little piece of it, maybe turn a little piece of it into a time spread. Two important pieces. Don't throw money in the trade. And ABC. What does ABC stand for, people? Do we know? All right, we got some people that I think know this. I'll show you. You ready?
Always be B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
We'll watch that one more time. And you should be thinking about this. A, always B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. Close your trades. All right? Always be closing. You should always be looking to get out of trades. Don't squeeze. Now, for an iron condor, one could be considered using a kite spread or a back spread. On a sell-off, I like using put spreads. For a very tight iron condor, a nearer term iron condor, all right, I would use, I'd remove pieces of the delta. And here's kind of one we were managing. It was a little split strike apple trade. Oh, you know what? This is from a long time ago. I thought I had the slide here. But we were managing one in our strategy letter, and what we do is just take pieces as it moves back and forth, and it works. All right, so in summary, IBs and ICs take some work. Understand what the IV is going to do. Learn to control the gamma by understanding the difference between intensity of the position, and learn to sell into declining volatility. All right, I love selling vol in a 13 VIX. Easy to make money. So let's quickly talk about what's coming up. We got a special offer, my Mastering Iron Condors and Flies class. This is going to be about a 4 to 5 hour course. Knowing Andrew, could be 6. You never know with him. And what we're going to do is teach you everything you need to know about condors and butterflies. I mean that. Just about everything you could possibly think of. We're going to talk about risk control, advanced adjustment techniques. I mean super advanced. You know, you go to those guys that want to charge you $6,000-7,000. We're going to cover everything that they teach you, that they want to charge you for in their one-on-one mentoring in a good couple hours. We're going to teach you how to execute weekly and monthlies. We're going to dig into it, and we're going to teach you a lot on managing risk. When we're going to teach the class live, and then we're going to put it in our store. When it goes in our stores for people to buy it, the replay, it will be $297. If you buy ahead of time, $167. Now, if you sign up by Wednesday, I'll take an extra $25 off. All right? And if you so use code 25_off. And if you sign up by tomorrow, this is not in there, I just decided this, I'm going to give you free access to my Mastering Volatility course. That is also $250. So you go to optionpit.com/Condor, or you go on our events page. $167. Take $25 off, $142. That's cheap. For, let's call it 4 hours, $35 an hour. That's a good deal. The guy that's coming this Saturday to tear apart my hot tub and take down my my treehouse is charging me way more than that. All right, now, reminder, if you have a subscription to Option Pit Live, which is only $125 a month, this is free. Yeah, it's recorded. You get to keep it. You get access. If you have a subscription to Option Pit Live, you get it for free. That's just $125 a month. But again, if you sign up for the $167 by next Wednesday, you can use this 25_off. It's case sensitive. And if you sign up by tomorrow, I'll give you the Volatility Primer course for free. If you already took that, we'll pick one other one to give you. Go to optionpit.com/Condor. Now, questions, comments, positive comments. How many days to expiration does the bend occur in the at the money, the red line? How do you exit an iron Condor? All right, so exiting is, typically I will break it up. I'll buy the straddle, then I'll sell the strangle. I'm typically in my trade for 10 days. And you should understand what the red line is not at the money. That is the current P&L structure. Mark, if the volatility is moving around a lot, would one just put on a directional credit spread? Yes. If you have a directional opinion. Or you could do what's called Condor Pong. Condor Pong is volatility's way up and the market's way off. I sell a put spread. Volatility pops or volatility drops. Market rallies big. I sell a call spread. Condor Pong. Mark, adjusting a butterfly. If you need to pick up some deltas, is buying a single call always more effective than buying a call or put spread? Closing a leg is fine. Buying a call is the simplest and easiest way to pick up deltas. Not always the most effective. So if skew is way out of whack, maybe not. But generally speaking, for the beginner, yes. All right. Any other questions? Thank you. I do my best. And if you think this is thorough, imagine what our paid webinars are like. I mean, this is the type of thing guys would actually charge you for. The only difference is, did you blow the whistle on her? No, but, you know, I do happen to be a writer for TheStreet.com. Just say. So that might be how they found out about it. So if you have questions, feel free to email me, mark@optionpit.com. You can call us 888-TRADE-01. And again, you check us out at optionpit.com/Condor. For this course, you have till tomorrow, and then you get that vol course for free. Next Wednesday, that $25 _ off course is available. Have a good one.